What up, Space Fam? Goes in here from AnimeUproar, back at it again with another Attack on Titan video. And today we're going to discuss the final villain of Attack on Titan, so make sure to stay tuned for that. If you do enjoy seeing these Attack on Titan videos and want to keep them coming, the best thing you could do is Warhammer, smash that like button until it's blue. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial, hit that notification bell and select all, or you will miss future Attack on Titan videos. And while you wait for the next video to drop, feel free to check out my growing Attack on Titan playlist where we got videos about the Titan shifters, the Ackermans, and much more. Link to that is in the description. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it. Before we get into the final villain discussion, I think it's useful to take a look at how the perspective of who is the real villain constantly shifted in Attack on Titan. At first, the Titans seemed like the villains. Eren was bent on destroying all of them. He was young, naive, and the difference between good and evil seemed so obvious. Humans, the good guys, are fighting against those monsters trying to kill them for no reason. However, that view got complicated soon enough. First, Eren turned out to be a Titan shifter himself, which complicated the clear distinction between humans and Titans. Then we find out that Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt are intelligent Titan shifters too, and they actively plotted to destroy the people within the walls. So, people they trusted as comrades turned out to be the same people who attacked them and killed many of their people, including Eren's mother. We'll eventually find out that Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt came from outside the walls. However, not all threats came from outside. During the Royal Government arc, the government itself becomes the enemy of the Survey Corps, and people like Kenny the Ripper and his team don't hesitate to kill Survey Corps members. Humans are killing humans, and that's a huge shock for our team because our guys have to get used to the uncomfortable idea of having to kill humans rather than just Titans. One of, if not the craziest paradigm shifts in Attack on Titan took place during the basement reveal. And wow, if we thought the lines were blurred before, they were blown to smithereens after they discovered the truth about the outside world. Whereas Eren thought the Titans were actually keeping them from being free, it turned out that the Titans were actually sort of protecting them from the outside world, who views them as the devils and would like them to be eradicated. And by protecting them, I don't mean the Titans were consciously protecting them, I just mean they were in the way and would inconvenience any attempt to take over Paradis Island by land. In young Grisha's view, you could say the nation of Marley was the enemy that was discriminating against the Eldian people of the continent. But in Marley's view, the Eldians were the enemies who supposedly used the power of the Titans to treat them way worse for way longer. In their eyes, the Eldians should consider themselves lucky that the merciful Marleyans spared their lives after everything their ancestors did, even if they do have to live in internment zones. One of the ways Marleyans punish Eldians who try to challenge them and restore the Eldian Empire is by taking them to Paradis Island, where they turn them into Titans. So those mindless Titans who seemed like the clear bad guys in the beginning of the series turned out to be patriots who were actually fighting for Eldian freedom. The monsters that Eren hated and wanted to kill so bad were actually victims of Marleyan cruelty, and they actually wanted similar things to what Eren aimed for, the freedom of the Eldian people. So at this point in the story, after we catch up on what's happening on the Marleyan side, Reiner the traitor stopped seeming like as much of a villain. In fact, as we discover, he went to the island to be a hero, and he, as a child, was brainwashed to believe that he was doing the right thing and making his mother proud in the process. As I mentioned, he was a kid, and after everything he did, he developed a lot of mental problems and even started wishing to die. This doesn't seem like a pure evil villain to me, and even an older Eren tells Reiner that he had no choice. After all, his mission was to save the world. Reiner and Eren have a very interesting conversation before the latter turns into a Titan and attacks Willy Tybur. You can see how much Eren has matured. He no longer views the world in terms of bad guys and good guys, just in terms of people doing what they have to do. As he says, and I quote, "Willy Tybur is exactly right. I'm the bad guy. I might just destroy the world, but you look like the bad guys to me too." End quote. He explains that he thought everyone beyond the sea were an enemy at first, but after coming there realized that inside the walls and out, they're all the same. So he tells Reiner to forget about Eren's old and naive stated mission to see Reiner and his people have the most excruciating death possible for what they did. He's no longer after revenge, but still he's looking out for the future of Paradis Island and its inhabitants. Eren says that Reiner was an ignorant child and all of that brainwashing was beaten into him by ignorant adults. So if we take this conversation into account, it seems like Eren is signaling out ignorance as the true enemy of humanity that leads one side to to demonize another and thus justify doing horrible things to them. Eren also stated earlier, as I mentioned, that he is the bad guy now. And a lot of people have made the argument that Eren is the bad guy of the final season and that he's become the villain of the story. And if we do agree that Eren's the final villain of the story, then you gotta apply the Batman quote. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, end quote. The fascinating thing is that the world considers Eren to be the worst villain ever, and yet we saw his history and how he became what he did because of his environment and history, as he mentioned to Reiner. Because he was born into this world and on the island, he decided to do what he could to save it and his people, even if that meant making an enemy of the entire world. And you'd have good reason to argue that Eren, our protagonist, is the final villain of Attack on Titan. He easily killed more people than anyone else in the entire series. He almost wiped out everyone on Earth using the rumbling, including many innocent civilians and even children. What's more, if we compare his actions to Reiner's when he attacked the island, Eren is an adult and didn't seem to be brainwashed when he decided to do what he did. Furthermore, practically everyone else alive fought against him. They all united in an attempt to stop Eren Yeager, the Devil of the Earth, including the Marleyans, warriors, the Survey Corps members, and even Mikasa and Armin. However, is Eren pure evil? Absolutely not. And that's one of the main points of Attack on Titan. No one is just good or just bad. Even the Marleyan Gross, who I think is one of the most hateable characters in the story, loves his children and acts with cruelty only to Eldians. Is he a piece of crap? Totally, he's a monster. He unleashed dogs on Grisha's young sister and committed countless other heinous acts against Eldians without showing any remorse. But even this guy, who is the closest thing to a caricature of a bad guy, is not a bad guy to many people like his children and nation. Eren at least doesn't enjoy causing suffering, but he does feel, in my opinion, like this is the only option he has to save Armin, Mikasa, and the rest of his people. Whether his plan is to take on all the hatred of the world in order to show the remaining world that the other Eldians who helped stop him are not the bad guys, or whether he's acting because it's the only way to finally stop a time loop, I'll link that theory video in the description. Either way, I think we all know that Eren's motives aren't pure evil despite how horrible his actions are. As he explained to Reiner, he's not doing this for revenge. He recognizes that all humans are the same. He just feels like he has no other choice, and I hope the final chapter gives us even more insight into exactly why he feels this way. So you could totally argue that Eren is the final villain of Attack on Titan if you recognize that that doesn't mean he's 100% bad. It just means that he's doing things so horrible that practically everyone is united in their will to stop him, even his best friends. Another option for the final villain of Attack on Titan is Ymir Fritz, the first and strongest Titan. She's the one that gave Eren the power to do this. However, again, this isn't a very satisfying view, since as Eren said, she's not a god or a devil, just a human. She's been slaving away in the world of paths and obeying the orders of the royal family for 2,000 years. In her life, she was a poor girl that was chased down and almost killed for letting a pig go free. When Eren was the first to recognize her humanity in Forever and offered her a way out of an eternity of servitude, you can begin to see why she agreed to help him. And if you watch my time loop theory video, you'll get even more insight into her possible motives and actions. Then there's the shiny centipede creature that attached to Ymir 2,000 years ago and started this whole Titan nightmare. What we knew about this creature was very little for the longest time. Ymir entered into a giant tree and somehow fell into an underground water source where we saw this spine-like creature attached to her spine, and this led to the first ever Titan transformation. However, the more the story went on from here, the more reasons we got to believe that this creature wasn't just some magic tool that humans use, it has its own will and goals. Recently in chapter 137, this creature got foregrounded. The chapter starts with the following quote: "Long, long ago, when nothing but mere matter existed in this world, as countless masses of some unknown things appeared, disappeared, then appeared again, one of them eventually survived. We now know it as life." End quote. As we're being told this, we see a centipede-like creature just like the one that attached to Ymir from long ago underwater. And I didn't notice this before, but there appeared to be at least two 2 other specimens of this species in this panel. What's being suggested here is that this is one of the oldest things on Earth, and as Zeke mentions, it adapted and did what it needed to do in order to survive and multiply, and one of those things was attaching to Ymir. This is a possible theory that I mentioned before, where this creature, which comes from nature, was manipulating Eren and Ymir in order to destroy the humans because they are a threat to the natural world. Now that we know more, it seems like the creature may be lending its power to humans so they can carry out their plans, while also ensuring its own survival and multiplication through them as well. Think about it, all subjects of Ymir are connected to the coordinate, aka to this centipede-like creature. So it's not far-fetched to assume that all subjects of Ymir are in a way the children of this creature, which is what gives them the ability to turn into Titans too. For the first time in chapter 137, the centipede creature was actually attacked like an enemy when it got separated from Eren. Reiner tackled it, and now the battle with it has been going on, although after the latest chapter, chapter 138, it is possible it won't be able to survive without a living founder body, but it also may be able to since it was a separate being when it attached to Ymir in the first place. On its own, this creature can release gas that will turn subjects of Ymir into Titans. We saw Falco scream when everyone began to turn, which could suggest that it can briefly take control of subjects of Ymir to an extent, although to what extent is not yet clear since it hasn't stopped Reiner and the others from attacking it. It also appears to be able to control the Titans. It creates and turns them loose on Reiner. Right now, this creature seems to be the main villain that everyone is trying to stop, and although we will hopefully learn more about it in the next chapter, for now it just seems to be a living thing doing whatever it can to keep on living as it's been doing. So this brings us to Zeke, who at one point saw life itself and the need to survive at all costs and multiply your genes as the villain. For him, life was an evil and the solution was to wipe out the Eldian race from existence. However, he also eventually came around right before his death and realized that life is worth it when you focus on the good moments, like when he played catch with his father figure Tom. Ultimately, as you may well have noticed by now, there are many potential final villains in this series, and who or what your final villain is largely depends on your perspective. We should get more answers in the last chapter, but at the end of the day, I seriously doubt Isayama will leave us with one clear villain. If there had to be a villain, then as Eren suggested before, it's ignorance. It's people's fear of others and the unknown. That fear leads them to discrimination and violence and begins a cycle of hatred and fighting that can potentially go on forever. If all people treated others the way they wanted to be treated, which is the golden rule in like every religion, then people would never resort to violence. However, fear, self-interest, and greed creates conflict, and once the conflict gets going, it's almost impossible to put a stop to it. Case in point, Eren felt like he had to practically destroy the entire world to finally stop the cycle of hatred. I'm not one of those people who believe that anime is for pure escapism, and Attack on Titan in particular is definitely not the kind of anime that lends itself to pure escapism, since there are so many clear references to World War II and other real-world issues in it. I think works like Attack on Titan invite us to question and maybe adjust the way we view and live in the real world. I obviously don't think war is going to disappear overnight because of the story, and I don't even know if having a world with no conflict is possible. However, what great works of fiction like Attack on Titan do is show us where acting with ignorance and a self-centered worldview can lead us. And knowing that, there's the hope that we'll be at least a little more understanding of others and perhaps make a greater effort to consider and understand their points of view. Perhaps people will be a bit slower to label other people as enemies and a bit quicker to see all people as fellow human beings with equally complex lives. Such small shifts in individuals can have ripple effects on the whole world and help create a better future, even if a perfect one is impossible. Or at least I'd like to believe that stories have that kind of power. Anyways, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on these so-called villains and who or what would you single out as the final villain of Attack on Titan. If you do enjoy seeing these Attack on Titan videos and want to keep them coming, the best thing you could do is Warhammer smash that like button until it's blue. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial, hit that notification bell and select all, or you will miss future Attack on Titan videos. And while you wait for the next video to drop, feel free to check out my growing Attack on Titan playlist where I got videos about the Titan shifters, the Ackermans, and much more. Link to that is in the description. And I especially want to thank the patron squad over on Patreon and here on YouTube who help make videos like this one possible. First and foremost, I want to thank the patron of legend, the one acknowledged by Lord Twigo himself, and the most donated champion of the world, Alpha Sigma, and are the 1-tier patrons, the ones who stand atop all clans, Ingrata, Acquire Respect, Pate Heffa, Liam Thompson, Aljatal, Dr. Courtman, Dustin Scarlet, The Toasted Chi, Bang, Emperor Otaku, Spidey Life Tanel, Baked Buddhist, Tungsten Tarkus, and Yuno. And our Pro Hero tier patrons, the one and only Gilgamesh, Steelers, Angel Cruz, Anatoly Kazaski, Cricket XP, Rethuan De Aura, Very Gucci, Alicia Actor, Bonnie Parks, Hinokami and Water, Joanne Garcia, The Red Haired Raven, Ted No Ted, iSparky65, Fatboy Games, Deadly Saint, and Soul Rise Slice and Dice. Thank you all so much. If you do enjoy our work, you can support more of it by going over to patreon.com/AnimeUproar and becoming a patron today for as little as $1. If you do so, you'll get your name featured in future videos alongside these amazing people right here, and you'll even get access to our private patron-only Discord where we talk about anime life and of course dank memes. So check out patreon.com/AnimeUproar. Link to that is in the description if you're interested. You can also join the YouTube channel by clicking that blue join button next to the subscribe button that you've hopefully already destroyed. So yeah, you can support more content that way if you prefer. Whichever way you choose to support us, you can get the same great benefits. Thanks again, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.